Saturday. I thought maybe we'd do some biscotti today because I have to make it. So in here I have a half a cup of olive oil, and I use extra virgin olive oil. And then I have a cup of sugar and 3 eggs that I beat together. To that we're gonna add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. We're gonna whisk it together. Get that all incorporated. Good, and then we're gonna add a little bit of vanilla extract. So about a teaspoon. You can use the cap if you like, depending on what size jar you have. And we're gonna whisk that in. And then we're gonna add 3 cups of flour. A little 1 cup measure here. And we're gonna use our big flour over here. So there we've got 1 cup. And we've got 2 more cups. Okay. So at this point, I can start to incorporate it. So I only put the 1 cup in there. I can start to incorporate it with the whisk. But eventually I'm going to need to move with my hands because you can't get it all in that way. So once it becomes a paste and you're adding the rest of your flour in, the rest you have to switch either to a mixer or to your hand. I always suggest your hand. 1, you get a good workout. And 2, you're not overdeveloping the gluten in the cookies. That's very important. Okay, so in the meantime, I gotta get this other one out here. I need some to start with. Right, let that be. Move this over. Uh-oh. Of course, when it's live, everything falls down. All right. Let's move this out of the way. There we go. All right, so now, got my clean glove on, and I'm gonna go ahead and just circle around the bowl. Turn the bowl, squeeze the dough, turn and squeeze, turn and squeeze. If you find that your dough is too dry, you can add up to 1 more egg. That is fine. Circle and circle. And once you have a nice smooth dough, we'll divide it into 2 pieces and we'll make 2 logs. Alright, so here we go, that's good. I'm going to divide it up into 2 pieces. I have to pull it off your glove a little bit, that's okay. Alright, so there's our 2 pieces. I'm going to do a little cleanup here and grab the pan. And we want to put some parchment paper on the pan. Move the dough over here. Slide that pan right here. This out of the way. All right, so here is our beautiful dough. And you can see it hardly took any time at all. So we're gonna use the counter and we're just gonna roll that into a nice log. We're gonna place that right here and push it down. And push, push, push. All right, so you wanna kind of flatten it out, squish it together. Flatten it out, squish it together. All right, I'm gonna come back. We're gonna get that second piece of dough. We're going to do the same thing. So here it is. Push it back together. Just going to roll that, roll that, roll that. And you're going to use your hands to squeeze it together. So I'm going to put it on the parchment paper. And we're going to just press it down. Press down, press down. Good. And once you're there, then we're going to put it into our 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes. We're going to come back and we're going to slice it up and then we bake it again. So unscotti is baked 1 time. Biscotti is baked 2 times. So in it goes. There we go. Let's clean up our mess. I'm going to give a little wipe down here, and then I'm going to show you what they look like when they come out. Okay, so let's do this. Let's clean up our mess here, and I'll show you what we're looking for. So right here, so I can find it when it's time to take it out. So I want to show you this too. I got this new recipe book from the Carolina Mill. So we are also making some ciabatta rolls. So I will show you what that dough looks like. It's a long process. So first you make a biga, which is a dry kind of dough that sits overnight and ferments. And then it's almost like a sourdough, but it's made with yeast. And it's in olden days they would use like old dough to do that with. But because we don't bake as much, we don't really have old dough. But I'll show you what the dough looks like anyway. Whenever I made ciabatta in the bakery, we use a very runny dough, a very thin dough. This dough is actually super stretchy, and it has amazing, the smell is glorious. Okay, so I mixed it about half an hour ago, so it's just time to gently fold it up. I coated it with a tiny bit of olive oil so it doesn't stick to everything. And then we put it in here. I mixed it in the mixer this time because it is such a stiff dough. It's very hard to mix by hand. All right, let's take a look at the biscotti I just took out of the oven. So I'm going to slide that over here. And I'm going to get a big knife. All right, we get a new piece of parchment paper, put on our pan close to us. Okay, I pre-scored this for easy slicing. So just like that, I'm gonna put those on our pan. You can lay them cut side up, cut side down, so you can stand them up, however you like to do it. And then they go back in to dry out. So that's what gives it that classic dry texture. Good morning, everybody. Let me know if you have questions. We're making biscotti. This is a almond biscotti. And then in the oven, I have just some plain vanilla biscotti. But you could add, anything you like. You can add chocolate chips, you can add nuts, you can add cranberries, dried blueberries, whatever it is you like. All right, so we're just gonna place that on there, and then we'll get the other side. You wanna cut off the end pieces because they just get too crunchy, they won't lay flat. So this one, and those are good nibbles if you're a taste tester. All right, and then we're gonna do the same here. We're just gonna cut off that little end piece, and continue slicing. And you want to get them about the same thickness. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just helps them bake evenly. So I do find that is very helpful. Okay, so let's get our pan over here. You can see what I'm doing now that it's cooled down a bit. All right, so just putting them on the sheet pan, on the parchment paper, on the side. Now, if your oven runs hot, just lower it down about 25 degrees because you don't want them to burn, but you do want them to crisp up. All right, so one more. There we go. And then all these little pieces you can use as snacks, or you can just toss them out. I'm going to toss them out. And then back into the oven, these will go for about 10 to 15 minutes till they're nice and crisp through. There's no more white spots. So they're going in there with that other biscotti, which will be in there for 20 minutes. So I'm actually going to set this timer real quick, and then I want to show you some of the dough I have that is fermenting. Timer, 20 minutes, start. There we go. All right. I don't know about you, but sometimes I do ridiculous things. Like I have this binder from the bakery, and I forgot to close the tabs, so all the pages came out. like everywhere. Look at that. What a dingling. All right, so I guess I'll put that back together in a little while. All right, we'll do that in a bit. I'll move it back over here. I want to show you the sourdough here. And I want to talk to you a little bit about sourdough because I think it gets a bad rap. Everybody's online making sourdough, and everybody makes it seem like you have to have a degree in science to make it. And I'm here to tell you that it's actually really easy to make. You don't need to make it super complicated, right? It's really a beautiful process, and it's really fast. So last night before I went to bed, I fed my starter. When I fed it, and then I just cleaned out the jar for the most part, and I gave it 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of water. Now, normally I would only do 55 to 60 grams of each one, and then I would use it and bake with it. But I have a lot of baking to do, so I needed more starter. And because I teach classes, both live and online, I use a lot. So I typically just, but I don't keep a huge vat of starter. If I know I need to make 3 loaves, then I give it the appropriate feeding. So I would feed it 150 grams of flour and 150 grams of water, so I have enough for those 3 loaves. But I'm not gonna make a giant vat of it and try and keep that up. That's just silly. That's a waste of product. So the night before I bake, I feed my starter. Then in the morning, I make my dough. And then it's very simple. You have between 15 minutes and half an hour, sometimes an hour. I mean, there's been times where I just let it go and I didn't fold it at all and it still came out with beautiful bread. So relax while you're baking it. Okay, so this one I mixed maybe half an hour ago or so. And so you can see it's quite sticky on the bottom. I'm just gonna lift it up and fold it over. It's not a big deal, just lift and fold, lift and fold. And if you need to get out some aggression, you can take the whole thing out, slap it down and fold it. Slap it down and fold it. And you'll see it develops a lot quicker. It likes that aggressive movement. It develops the gluten faster. So if you're not a person that has a lot of patience, like moi, then don't worry about your stretch and folds. Just do a few slap and folds. There it is. See how beautiful and shiny it is? It's so much easier and faster. I love it. So I'll do that a couple more times, and then I just let it go all day long. And then tonight, I'll form a loaf and park it in the refrigerator until tomorrow, and then I'll bake it. It's that simple. So sourdough should be an enjoyable, easy process. The only thing different between sourdough and using yeast is the fact that, it's just a timing issue. You have to feed the starter, but you're making yeast. So flour and water become yeast that rises your bread. So you need a strong starter to do that, or it's not really going to do its job. Good morning, Karen. So what I'm trying to tell you is it's doable. It's very easy. And if you want to learn more, I have a course online and I teach in person, and I'd be happy to teach you. But the most thing is, the more that you use it, the more that you bake with it, the better results you're going to have. So don't be afraid of making breads, and don't be afraid of trying new recipes and trying new things, because this is why I do the lives. I want to show you how easy it is. If I can do it with you live, you know you can do it at home. Just keep practicing. All right? So let's get to it. Let's keep working on this stuff. I hope that you'll try the biscotti recipe. Let me go over it again, and I will leave it in the comments too. It's 3 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon. So here's what I start with. I start with the liquid ingredients, okay? So the olive oil and eggs, half a cup of olive oil, 3 eggs, a cup of sugar, and I whisk them together. Then I add my extract, and then I whisk that together. And then I add my tablespoon of baking powder, whisk it together. Then I add 3 cups of flour. At that point, you can't really whisk it, so you start to use your hand. And you mix it together, and then you separate it into 2 dough balls, and you roll them into logs, you flatten them out, and you bake them at 450 degrees for about 20 minutes. And you take them out and you slice them, and then you bake them again, taking it from unscotti to biscotti. And there you have it. It's that simple. And then from there, you have endless options of how you want to make them. You can put anything you want in there, and it's always delicious. Or if you want to keep them plain like I did, then you can dip them in chocolate, dip them in white chocolate, use them plain, whatever the case may be. So I hope I have given you enough reason to give it a shot. Try baking them. Biscotti are delicious, not necessarily nutritious, But, you know, as a treat, they're very good. All right, my friends, happy baking. I will pop the recipes and what the pictures look like of everything we just did a little bit later. Sending you lots of love.